Hello, everybody, and welcome to an introduction to building software without coding. I'm Dominic Norton, aka Mr. Hackathon, and today I will be showing you how to build software without coding and what that even means in today's day. Before we get into the actual presentation, and more importantly, actually building an AI application without coding, I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. I started my software development journey, probably like most of you, with HTML and CSS a very, very long time ago when MySpace was one of the biggest social media platforms. You could actually customize the layouts. And at my school in London, in the UK, students would pay other students to customize the layouts. And as the entrepreneur that I was, I wanted to make money. So I taught myself HTML and CSS, and I loved it. And in loving it, I went on to teach myself JavaScript, went on to teach myself Python and more, which also landed me in the web development space. At this time, Adobe Dreamweaver was a very, very hot platform. Adobe's still around. I don't think Dreamweaver is still around. Dreamweaver was their web development platform, but more importantly, their no code web development platform. So, this was one of the early no code tools that you can actually use to develop websites without coding. So, early in my career, I had the programming experience, but I also had the no code experience. And I was always looking for ways to combine it, to utilize it, and to be entrepreneurial with these skills. As I got older, I became a very, very good athlete, a basketball athlete to be specific. I became an international athlete for playing basketball for England. This allowed me to get a scholarship, an athletic scholarship, to go to school in America, where I studied architecture for 3 years and construction for 2 years. Following my architecture and construction degree, I didn't go into sports, but I went into engineering. I became what's called in the US a virtual design construction engineer. In other places, sometimes they call it a builder. They call the area that I was in building information modeling. But I was responsible for the research and development of drones, 3D printing, laser scanning, virtual reality, augmented reality on large scale architecture projects. So these are multi-million dollar, billion-dollar buildings that are using the latest technology to build. I have also been a content creator for some of the biggest no-code brands, creating educational content for those brands, but also accelerators. I am also a creator in residence for 100 Days of No Code. We'll learn a little bit more about 100 Days of No Code a little bit later. And I've been through accelerators myself and incubators such as On Deck, such as Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator in New York, where we raised about 150 pre-seed funding for a startup me and a co-founder was working on. Today we'll be talking about what no code is and how we got to this point with no code. We'll be talking about the technology stacks in no code, the career opportunities you have in the space, and also the communities. And we'll wrap up today's workshop with actually building something in real time. So we're going to build a very interesting AI application. Historically, software has been reducing in price. More people have been able to actually develop software, and we've increased speeds. But this is because of how technology has evolved. Technology has abstracted, meaning we have got further and further away from the mechanics of developing technology. 30, 40, 50 years ago, well, 30, 40 years ago, for many people, you had to be very, very, very specialized in knowing how to use a computer to actually use a computer. Obviously, in today's day, everybody has a very, very strong computer. Uh, most people have a very strong computer in their mobile device, in their laptop, in their desktop, you name it. The average person can do a lot with very, very little. And this is kind of the premise of no code. Some of you might be familiar with AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. This as an enabled services to move into the cloud, so developers don't have to worry about things like authentication. No code is, and low code is the same premise, allowing developers to build native applications, progressive web applications, Chrome extensions, and more without coding. But what does no code actually mean? No code is really just an umbrella term to describe products that enable users to develop software with minimal coding ability. I want to be very clear at this point. No code doesn't necessarily mean literally no code, because this is a spectrum of different products. Some products produce code and allow you to export the code. Some products allow you to write code native to their platforms. Some products allow you to import code. It really just depends on the product you're using. Today, the product we're using doesn't allow us to export the code because this is a beginner level work, but some products do, and I want to make that very, very clear in outlining what no code actually is. Technology stats. So here we're going to go over technology stats within the no code space. One of the most popular stacks, or one of the most popular parts of no code, is website builders. Some of you might be familiar with Webflow. Some of you might be familiar, or hopefully you're familiar with WordPress. WordPress is one of the biggest no code tools out there. You have other tools such as Bubble, Squarespace, and Wix that allow you to build landing pages and websites without coding. So although you might not build your mobile app, if let's just say you don't want to build your mobile application with no code, you might turn around and build your website with no code. Automation tools. Some of you might be familiar with Python, might really, really love Python, really love automation. And in the no code space, and which we will be also doing today, some automation. In the no code space, you can automate requests, you can automate different processes using tools like Make and Zapier. And we'll go over more Make specifically in today's tutorial, in today's workshop. Virtual and augmented reality. Maybe you're familiar with Instagram, Facebook. I'm not too sure about TikTok, but Snapchat. These applications have native augmented reality experiences, and you can actually develop augmented reality and virtual reality experiences with no code. With specific platforms like Lens Studio, it allows you to do complex scripting and add JavaScript if you want to add JavaScript. Gaming. A lot of students are really crazy about this part of the no code ecosystem. You can create games using tools like BuildBots that allow you to create the game without coding, and also upload it to the App Store, Google Play Store, and monetize it if you want to monetize it. Some of you might be really interested in the blockchain space. There's tools like Third Web that allow you to create NFTs, that allow you to create token gates and more. Chatbots and voice applications are still very, very big, especially in quote unquote emerging markets. And you can create voice applications and chatbots with tools like Landbot and VoiceFlow. Again, if you're missing some of these tools, it's okay, because this is being recorded. You can always watch it back and Google some of these tools. Maybe you're a front end developer and you find it really hard to create backends for your applications or things you're working on as a side project. There's tools like Xano, there's tools like Airtable, if you consider that a backend database, that you can use for your backend database. Today we'll be using Airtable. Lastly, mobile applications. You can create mobile applications without coding. You can create native and progressive web applications without coding. Some of them allow you to export the code. Some of them don't allow you to export the code. So depending on what your needs are, you would use a specific tool. There are many different careers and opportunities within the no-code space, but really we're just going to talk about four. A freelance developer. If you develop a skill in WordPress, if you develop a skill in Webflow, if you develop a skill in Adalo, which is used for native applications, You can offer your services on Freelancer, on Upwork, on different freelancing platforms, or you can get work from referrals to actually perform the work and complete projects. You could be an agency manager. So you can manage an agency where you hire freelance developers to work for you, and you can get the contracts and subcontract that work to freelance developers. As a founder, you have two main pathways. You can bootstrap a company. This means you build an app or build some product, you earn money from that product, and you reinvest that money into growing your bootstrap business. Or you can be a VC backed founder in that you build a product using no code, using low code to build it very, very quickly. You use that to test, to iterate, to gain feedback, to grow and get traction, and you demonstrate that traction to the VC, who hopefully would invest in you because they believe in what you're working on. There's two last things that are interesting here on this slide. It's being a content creator and instructor. That's what I am. I do build a lot of projects, and you will see some of my projects, but I do create a lot of content, and I also teach a lot. And I do build as a hobbyist, and you can be a hobbyist. So learning these skills, you don't think you have to monetize them. Monetizing them is great, but if it's just a creative exercise for you, that's okay too. Just with Google communities or Microsoft communities, there are communities in the no-code space that are really, really impactful and that can really help your trajectory in no code. Number one is On Deck. On Deck was amazing for me. It propelled my no code career. On Deck is a group of innovators and entrepreneurs that are striving to change the world. And this was something, being a part of this community was valuable for me. If you search on Twitter, hashtag 100 days of no code, you'll find people all over the world that are entering the challenge to do micro projects for 100 days. And the reason they do micro projects for 100 days is to, one, develop the habit, and two, develop a portfolio of projects that they can then use to either propel their entrepreneurial journey or help them get work as a freelancer or corporate role. Then you have MakerPad. MakerPad is a great resource for online tutorials. Indie Hackers is great for both developers that are developing with no code, but developers that are also developing with code. It can teach you about sales, it can teach you about marketing, teach you about accounting and finance, and many different topics within the no code, low code space. Lastly is Product Hunt. Product Hunt's a tool that when you're ready, you can launch your product and get early users, early adopters, early supporters, and maybe, if you're lucky, even generate revenue in the early stages. We're going to take a look at some projects that I've created previously. This one on the screen was called Fundemics, and this was a basic scholarship directory app for students in the US that want to find scholarships. I did end up publishing this to the Google Play and App Store. I believe I took it out since. This is one of my biggest platforms. This is a curated directory for missing Black people here in the UK. Crypto Scam Detector is a Chrome extension that allows you to detect crypto or potential crypto scams. And what it does, it verifies the URL that you're on by comparing it to CoinMarketCap and what URLs they have in their database for their cryptocurrency tokens that they've listed. Next, we have, or lastly, we have Web3. Web3 was a directory for Web3 resources, career opportunities, decentralized finance, DAOs. If you're familiar with blockchain, you will know what all these words mean, or should know some of these words and what they mean. But this was created with no code. Also, this was published to the Google Play and App Store. It might still be there, but I haven't worked on it in a while. What we're going to do now is actually build an AI application. But before we go forward anymore, does anybody have any questions? If nobody has any questions, we're going to move forward. If you have any questions, and I'm just going to check the chat. Let's see. Okay, I think it's hopefully I'm pronouncing your name hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Rao? You can unmute yourself and ask your question, Rao. Or if you don't want to unmute yourself, you can just write your question and I'll answer your question. Okay. Yeah. 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 So that's yeah, no, I totally get that. So that's a platform risk. You would only have two options. You have a developer or teams develop an alternative, or you use a different platform. Hopefully that answers your question. Um, I hope in showing you some of this, and also I have a lot of content online that you're not tied to WordPress. That you could probably use the tool most applicable or most appropriate. But I've experienced that problem too, and it is a challenge. But the skill or what the position I got to now is I can find the right tool for the job, and I present this stuff to the client. So if you're working with clients, you need to be transparent with them that if they say they want like a weird kind of feature, and you have to use a plugin to get that feature, you have to be transparent with them that hey, this is a third party plugin and at any point the developer might stop working on this. Or if it breaks, it's not because of you. It might have been the developer's done something wrong. Yeah, yeah. Some of the platforms that I use, for example, if I show you Webflow, and again, some of these are for very, very specific purposes. But some of the platforms I use, because they're a little bit newer, they're a little bit more refined than Webflow. They're more refined than WordPress in some areas. It all depends on what your client wants. So you can do e-commerce in this. Another platform that I use or what people use for more complex applications or web applications is Bubble. So we'll just give it a chance to load. So I actually have to log out. So you can see the type of companies that are using it. But Bubble's another good one where people are building different applications. Some people like this company here, they raise it says 13 mil here. It might be a little bit more than 13 mil. They built their company on Bubble, and they built a marketplace on Bubble, and they raised money with that. So you have lots of different look. It's the best way to build CRMs or social networks, you name it. I'm not sure if it's very very good, but you have to weigh up your pros and cons for with particular platform. So I'm going to look at this. So I think Abdul has a question on CRM backends. So this is one of the best backends, the best no code backends. Um, I don't know what just happened. But this is one of the best no-code backends. It does, if you want to connect to Lambda functions, it allows you to connect to Lambda functions, Docker instances. Um, you can host it on premise, or you can let them host it. You can create APIs from it. It's very, very, very good and very easy to use. Extremely easy to use. I found this a lot easier. So when I first started my programming journey, I found backend databases really hard when I first started. And now that I know no code, I wish this was around when I first started my programming journey. It would have made building applications really easy, but it also makes learning backend really easy. So it's called Xano. So somebody asked about communities. So let's type the days of nocode.com. So I this is probably the number one community I recommend. There are many, many more. But this is the number one I recommend. And this allows you, and I'm a course creator here, so I create the Chrome extension learning path. Um I create the Chrome extension learning path here, and it allows you to go through with a cohort of people over across 100 days and build some micro projects. So very, very small projects. If we go to browse courses, we can see, I'm not sure. I was trying to find some of the learning paths, but it has lots of different learning paths where you can actually do this very, very small project. So this is 100 days of no code, similar to 100 days of code, but 100 days of no code. There's also indiehackers.com. So this is a very, very good website. As you can see here, someone said how I made a GPT-3 Chrome extension for Twitter and earned just over $1,000 in 2 weeks. Um, so I'll show you some projects that I've made, and then we're gonna go ahead and build some things. So what I have here, this was built in Bubble, and this is a review generator. So let's say you have an Amazon product you want to um, write a review for. Let me just write about Trello or Telegram, maybe WhatsApp. You just select some words. You can say WhatsApp is essential, WhatsApp is original, WhatsApp is, let's say, effortless. You type your email, click generate. You give it some time, and hopefully there's not a bug right now. It actually seems like there's a bug. Generates a written review for you. Here we can see. So here we can see the review it's generated for us. It said WhatsApp is an essential app for anyone who wants to keep in touch with their friends and family. Its original design is simple and easy to use, and it's effortless to keep everyone in your contact list up to date. So this is what I've integrated with AI. We're going to make an application with AI, but it's going to be a little bit different, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. I will show you another one that's probably closer to what we're going to do today. So here I've made an application that some banks are actually testing now, and this allows you to query market reports. So you can see here I have a market report, I have another market report here, and all you have to do is we click search. It's going to take us to the search page. You ask a question. Tell me about China. Select the report. Type your email. You can change it so you don't have to type your email because I'm actually logged in. So I probably have to update that. Click search. There's some things happening in the back end, but what you'll be able to see here is the results where it says tell me about inflation in Europe, and it answers the question from that particular report the user has selected. So we're going to do something like that today, but what we're going to do is a question and answer site for the Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation, and I've looked at their strategy to help mitigate social economic impact of COVID-19 on the tourism industry. We have it here, but we want to use AI to create this question and answer website so people don't have to read this. They can just ask a question and it provides the answer. I'm just going to take a look at the comments section. So I think Rao was still talking about the paid CMS um that's maintained by third party developers. And somebody was saying, Mohammed was saying that ask the client to pay first for the plugin. And I agree. So the way I work when I don't do as much freelancing now, but the way I work is the client pays for everything. They pay for if they want a particular theme that I have to use, I add that. If they want particular plugins and extensions, I add that on top. That's on top of my labor to actually make the website. So let's say in pounds, what we use over here, let's say to make a website, the low end for me might be 2000. Any additional feature that they want that I have to use a plugin for, I add that on top. So that might be the strategy route that you want to go for, like Mohammed is suggesting. But I assumed your question was about the dependency on third party plugins. So what we're going to do is go ahead and build this. We are going to use a couple tools. We're going to use this tool called Softer for our front end. It allows us to make really great front ends. People are making client portals, internal tools, community hubs. With this, we're going to use a tool called Make for our backend. So this allows you to automate workflows. You can automate page scraping, or you can automate sending tweets. You can automate sending emails and more. We're going to use Airtable. If I actually log out, just to show you the front side of this, we're going to use Airtable as our backend database. Uh, there's trade-offs with every no-code tool you use. So the trade-off with this particular front-end tool we use is that you can only connect it to Airtable and Google Sheets. You can't connect it to Xano. You can't connect it to Firestore or Firebase or anything else. That's the trade-off with this particular tool. But with every tool, there's a trade-off. The trade-off with Bubble is that there's a higher learning curve, but there's more flexibility. We're also going to use a tool called Eden AI. If I just log out of this one, just to show you. Uh, show you here. So Eden AI centralizes AI APIs. So if you wanted to use an AI API like with OpenAI, what we have here, which is one of the leading AI API providers, you could go through them directly, or you could use Eden AI, which connects you to Google Cloud, AWS. It connects you to Azure. It connects you to all these different services that allow you to use AI engines. And we are going to use that today. And I'm actually going to close this here. And what we're going to do is actually start with Eden AI. So we're going to open the curtain a little bit, even though that review generator is a different use case. So the review generator is a different use case. I think we might have time to show you. So I'm going to show you right now. So let me go back to, for the review generator, I actually used OpenAI's API directly. And if I actually go to their AI API, so what they have here is pre-trained models. And actually, we can jump to one of them. One of them is Restaurant Review Creator. So I actually manipulated this prompt here, but I'll do it with another one so it makes a little bit more sense. Essay outline. So this is easier. So anytime you're interacting with AI APIs, you have to give it some input, which is called a prompt. If any of you use Chat GPT and you're writing, that is a prompt. A prompt is just an instruction to the AI engine or the AI, telling it what you want it to do. And the response is obviously the output, the response, or what sometimes will be called the completion. In this particular one, what the user's asking it to do is to create an outline for an essay about Nicholas Tesla and his contributions to technology. And this is the particular response. What you can see here is if you was coding this, this is what your response will look like. For us, because we're using no code, we don't actually have to use this code. We do need these inputs for the settings, but we don't need to use this specifically. With OpenAI, they have a playground where you can actually test and you can play around. So here it says create an outline for an essay about Nicholas Tesla and his contributions to technology. If we press enter or submit, you will see it will generate an outline. So I'm just going to hit cancel. If we change this from Nicholas Tesla to Elon Musk and hit submit, again, it generates us a response. If we change technology to business, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to talk about the contribution to business. And so what you notice here in everything I just did for the last 2 minutes, here there are two variables. One variable is Elon Musk. Another variable is the industry, business, technology, music, you name it. So what I do on the front end of my review generator app is I take input from the user. So on this particular review generator app, my input is the name of the product. My input is I have free inputs in terms of words. They need the free words to describe the product. And obviously, I have their email just so I know who it is, because on the free version, there's no login. And then there's an output. So I have my own custom prompt where I'm throwing in variables in my custom prompt, and it's giving me a response, and I display that response to the user. Here, in this case, there would be two inputs. One would be the name of somebody, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, you name it, whoever you wanted to put there. And then there would be an industry, music, finance, business, education, you name it. And that is what it would look like if you was making a project that created essay outlines for people using AI. So that's kind of what it looks like under the hood. We're going to do a different use case. We're going to do this question and answer use case that I have here. And for this question and answer use case, we are going to run a test. So I've logged into OpenAI and I'm going to choose text, but you can see you can choose speech, OCR, image, video, translation. I did text. And here it has different things I can use. I can use keyword extraction. I can use summarization, that I can give it a paragraph and it will summarize it. But what I'm going to do is question and answering. And you can see it uses OpenAI automatically. But what we can see here, if we go on sample response, if we can see an example, we can see that it has a block of text, another block of text, and a question. And if we click launch, it's going to answer that question from the reference material that we have given it. So you can see it says Linux is a competitor. A competitor of Linux is Microsoft Windows. And the question was, what is a competitor of Linux? And it's taken it from somewhere in here, and it said, hey, a competitor of Linux is Microsoft Windows. And we're going to create something like that for the Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation and their strategic roadmap. So what we want to do is actually test this first, and we are going to test it by just adapting this, and I'm going to copy and paste. Oh, I can't actually copy and paste here. So I might choose actually a different document where I can just copy and paste this for the sake of time. I might choose, let's say, I'm going to find some news article to copy and paste from. No, that seems like it's complex. Let's see Visa and see what's the name for Visa. So I'm just trying to find a block of text or an article that I want to turn into my question and answer site from this. Okay, so actually, I might use this. So we have a vision, we have a mission, we have objectives. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to paste this here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to paste this here. And what we're doing now is just testing this. We're testing our AI API. I'm going to take the objectives and just copy and paste that. And I'm going to ask a question. What is an objective of the Pakistan tourism industry? And we're going to click launch, and it should be able to answer. And we have here, it's given us an objective of the Pakistan tourism industry to significantly contribute to the improvement of the quality of life in Pakistan while promoting the country's cultural and natural heritage. Let's ask it another question. Let's say, what is the vision of the and here it's given us the vision. I'm not sure if it's given us the whole vision. So let's ask it another question. What environment does the want to create? And what we can see here, it tells us the environment that it wants to create. So we know this works, but now we need to turn this into a working application. How do we do that? First, we're going to create a front end. Software is free, and software also allows you to connect a domain for free, which is amazing if you're creating a side project. So I'm going to start by creating a software application. And it's asking me where's the data stored. Right now, I haven't connected it to Airtable yet, so I'm just gonna. I haven't set up my Airtable database, so I'm gonna select connect later. And now it's going to allow me to add pre-built pages to my application, similar to using WordPress and Elementor or something like that. And I want my homepage. I have my sign up screens. I want all of that. I am going to make a slight adjustment. I think I'm going to make a slight adjustment. And so what I'm going to do is remove these screens here, the list details and form, and you'll see why in a minute. So here it's giving me this dashboard, and on this dashboard, I can do a number of things. I can add pages here, and I can also edit the details of pages. So I can go in settings, add SEO to pages, um, add social metadata. I can change the visibility of pages from here, even add custom code. I can change the theme. I can connect my database to user source. Also, I can change the settings of the project as a whole. So I can change the application name, subdomain, favicon, you name it. What we're going to do is go back home and we're going to customize this page. So I'm going to change this title to discover information about the about Pakistan's tourism industry. And I'm going to type a subtitle, ask questions to get answers, to get easy answers about Pakistan's tourism industry. And the next thing I'm going to do is add a button. And to add a button, I just go here under buttons and I can just change the text here to sign in. I create another one. I change that to sign up. Right now, that doesn't link to anything. We're going to link it to something in a minute. I'm also going to change this right here, the illustration that's showing, and change it to that. I can even upload my own images, but this should be okay for now. I'm going to remove this section just to keep it simple for this tutorial. And if I wanted to add that section or add another section, all I have to do is click add block, and it has all these pre-built blocks. So it has headers, it has heroes, it has features and feature grids. If you wanted to add a feature grid, it has all of that. What we want to add is a footer. I'm going to add a footer with links. And all I'm going to do is remove some of this because we don't have all this information. And remove social links here. So now we have a footer and now we have a header. I want to highlight something here in this header. You have two headers here. One is showing for logged in users and another is showing for non-logged in users. So non-logged in users will be able to see this one. And on this one, you have a sign in and sign up. And logged in users have a different menu. This is how you add visibility conditions to show some users some things and other users other things. What we're going to do is make some adjustments to this. And I'm going to delete all of these pages just because we don't have a news page, for example. I'm going to do a similar thing here. Again, this is just for the sake of the tutorial. You might actually have a news page and let's say a blog page. Okay, so we have our base. What we have here is the sign in, sign up, but you can see the sign in, sign up is connected to the sign in screen and the sign up screen. And so we need to also make sure this button is connected to sign in and sign up screen. So all we had to do is add an action and connect the page. So we add action, open page, and we connect it to the page. Lastly, what we actually want to do here is we want to do is change the visibility condition. So only non-logged in users can see this particular screen. So this block here will only show for non-logged in users. This block will show for logged in users. This block will show for non-logged in users. So if we preview this, just remember there's two blocks here at the top, really thin ones. But when we preview this, because we're not logged in, we can only see this one block. And so we're going to use this method to actually add some more blocks. What we're going to need is to take the input from the user. And to take the input from the user, we're going to have to add a form. But you can see we can add maps, we can add comments, we can add organizational charts if we want to add organizational charts, summary cards. There's lots of different blocks we could add if we wanted to add different blocks. But what we're going to add is list, and we're going to add, form. First, we are going to add a list, but a little bit later. So we're adding a form, and what we need on this form is to say, ask your question about below. We're going to remove this. And what we need to do is we have an option to send the data from the form, the user input, lots of different places. So we can send it to MailChimp, which is like an email marketing service, MailerLite. We can send it to Zapier, Make, and to another data source. What we're going to do is actually send it to Make. And Make is what we're going to use to automate the AI processing and automate adding it to our backend. Before we send it to Make, we're just going to adjust some of these fields. So here now we only have one field, and this one field is taking in the question from the user. I'm just going to change the name of this to question your question. And the last thing I'm going to do here in the fields is add a hidden field to take in, and I'm going to map this to email. And I'm going to add the value, the logged in user's email. So now the user doesn't have to give, if the user's logged in, and they will be logged in because that's the only way they'll be able to see this, it's automatically going to give me their email. Just double check everything is okay. I can change the text here to ask question. So this is a very important part. We need an address for Make to send the form data to. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Make, and we are going to sign in. Make, again, is free. And even when you pay, it's very, very cheap. If anyone has any questions if we go through this, don't be afraid to just write in the box, in the chat box. So I'm just logging into Make now. So with Make, what we can do is create a new scenario, and a scenario is just the name of an automation. So I'm going to name this Pakistan's tourism industry. And what I want to do, I need an address to send my data to. So I want to create a webhook. And a webhook is not just a no-code thing. A webhook is general programming. You would create webhooks to be able to send data to webhooks, and you will receive data to your webhook. This is just a very, very easy way for us to actually create a webhook to do this. So what I'm going to do is create a custom webhook. I need to add and name my webhook. I don't have no IP restrictions, so I'm just going to save this. And now I have an address. So I have to copy the address. You can see that it's listening to see the data structure. And what we're going to do is go to make, paste, and then we're going to send some test data. So we're just going to click here, send test data, and you can see it determined our data structure. So what I want to do now, I actually click OK. And what I want to do now is just run this and try it again just to see. And you can see that it received question and some sample data. If we remember, this field is called question, and basically it sent some sample data. So this is being recorded, so you can follow through. You can watch it back and follow through in case you missed anything, in case you're following along. But what I basically did, I created a webhook. I think it's Zainab. Yeah. So Zainab asks, "Is what is a webhook?" And somebody already answered what a webhook is, but it's without getting really technical, because I think when you talk about custom callbacks, um, for people that are new, it can get complicated. But if you're sending data to somewhere, you need an address, and a webhook allows you to have an address to send to. And my camera might have just went off, but I'm still here. Don't worry about that. I think my camera battery died. But this address here is an address so I can send information to it. So here, I have a form and I say, hey, send this data to this address. And once it's sent to this address, I can automate lots of different things, or I can alter functionality of a web page, if that makes sense. Um, if we think about it in terms of maybe a website, I don't know a particular website if we want to choose, but some kind of website or application. Let's just take Twitter. If you When you write a post, it's sending it to an address somewhere, to a webhook, and that alters some other functionality. So that might say, hey, display, there might be a list, and on this list it says display all this user's posts in this list. And once you sent the information about your post to the webhook, that gets added to the database of your posts. Please let me know if I broke it down enough and make it really, really clear. I'm trying not to use technical terminology because I know that can get confusing. So let me know if that's clear about webhooks. But in short, I need somewhere to send my data to make, and the webhook allows me to send the data to make. So it just catches all the data. From here, I can do really interesting things. So where it says add another module, I can create another module, and if I wanted to send this by email somewhere else, I can send it by email. Um, I can do something with Figma. I'm not actually sure what I do with Figma there, but I could let's go to Twitter. Yeah, it's like a data sender. I can go to Twitter, and even though Twitter is a bit weird with its API these days, I could automate tweets, or I could Twilio. Hopefully, some of you are familiar with Twilio, but Twilio allows you to do SMS and call automation, so you can automate text messages. Or I think, hopefully, WhatsApp is here, so you can automate WhatsApp messages. You can, once you receive the data at a webhook, you can do lots of really interesting things with it, especially if you're hosting your own server. And what we're doing here is we want to take it to Eden AI, and we want to then, if we can find with Eden AI, you can see you can extract the keywords, you can summarize text, you can extract text from an image, you can translate to another language. But what we want to do is, one should say answer questions somewhere. Let me just type it in. Okay. Answer questions. I've already connected my Eden AI account, but you would need to connect your Eden AI account and put your API key. If I go back to Eden AI and go to my account, you will see your API token here. You would just copy your API token and add your API key. If we go back, mine's already connected. So here we want to do a similar thing that we did before. So we want to put the text. If I go back, okay, it's gone. But what we're going to want to do, we want to grab this mission. We're going to put that there. We want to grab the vision, mission and vision. We're going to put that there. And we're going to grab the objectives. And we're going to put that there. So somebody asked what an API is, and this is both in code and no code. So if you want to connect to Twitter and Twitter's services, they would create a way, and if I can, and because this is a beginner workshop, I don't want to get very, very technical, but they would create a way for you to interact with Twitter's service or Google or Amazon or you name any big application, chances are they've created APIs to allow you to interact with their data. It's moving a little bit slow. For example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Goodreads, but Goodreads, I think it was acquired by Amazon, but it has all this information about books. So if you wanted to get information about books, you could ask, you can send information to what is called a request. You would send a GET request to Goodreads and say, hey, I want this information. Show me these authors' books. And they have it here, authors' books. And it says, send me, you could say, send me these authors' books, and it will return to you the author's books. If it's there, if it exists in their database. You could say, hey, it says like this particular part of their API or this particular request, you can find books by title, author, or ISBN. So you can answer it. Let's just see what it says. You would send a GET request, which is the method, the HTTP method. You was, and the method is just like a type of thing you want. So you can either ask it for data, you can tell it to delete data, you can update data, you could send data to it. So there's lots of different ways you can interact with any API. I don't want to get too in depth about APIs, and I'm trying to keep it really, really simple. But an API is a way to interact with a service of another company. Not every company has an API, and some companies monetize their APIs and say, past certain amounts of limits, you have to pay. So what we're doing here with Eden AI, we're going to go back. And so we have our free text. Our question is actually going to come from our webhook. This is a variable. So all we have to do is grab it there. So what's going to happen here in Make, as it goes through, it receives the question. When it goes to Eden AI, it's going to use what it received in this first module here. I select the provider. And here I have to give it some examples of context. So I'm just going to give it an example here. I have to give it an example of questions, and there's a certain format you have to do this in, because you have to teach it how the question and answer, and like what a question looks like, what an answer looks like. So you don't have to do much here, but what we're going to do is actually go back to AI. And I'm going to say, what is the vision for Pakistan? Oh. So I'm going to grab this as the question. I don't like this answer because it's basically just copied this. I'm going to say, how will regional trends and developments be taken advantage of? And you can see here it's answered the question: regional trends and developments will be taken advantage of by promoting Pakistan's cultural and natural heritage to improve the quality of life. And that's just basically taking it from here, rephrased it, understood the context, and that's the point of AI. But what we're doing here is just showing it example question. And let's just look at the format. Example answer. So I'm just going to go back and grab the answer. And we're going to do one more because you have to do a minimum of two. And so what I'm going to say is, how will you promote the country's cultural heritage? That as my question. While that's loading, I'm going to load this up here. And you can see this answer. It will be done through activities such as cultural festivals, showcasing traditional art and music, providing educational opportunities. And so the AI is generated that based on our initial context that we gave given it. And we didn't give it much context, bear in mind. And so what we have here, the temperature is just about how creative you want it to be from 0 to 1. So we just let it have some creativity. And so how we're going to test this is I'm going to right click and click run this module, and I'm just going to answer a question. Let me think about a question. I'm going to say, how will the facilities be used? How will the traditional. So right now it's processing. We're going to let it process and see what it comes up with. It's finished. And it says the vision is to develop tourism sector as a natural priority in a sustainable and acceptable manner. Taking so it's given us, but oh no, that's not the output. So this is the output. It said the traditional facilities can be used to promote the country's cultural and natural heritage by providing tourists with the opportunities to provide to experience the culture and nature of Pakistan. So it works. So what we need to do now, we have our front end for the form. We have the automation. It catches it with our webhook. It sends it to Eden AI. Eden AI gives us a response back. But what we need to do is actually store this response somewhere. And we're going to store it in Airtable. So I'm going to sign in and create my database. Everybody know, let me know if you're following along, okay? If you have any questions while Airtable is loading. But everything's starting to come together. What I'm going to do is make a new base, and I'm going to title it Pakistan. What did I name this scenario? Pakistan's tourism industry. No, Eden AI is not a subsidiary, it's a separate company. And what Eden AI's value proposition is that they're an API aggregator. So they allow you to use Microsoft Azure, they allow you to use Google Cloud, they allow you to use whatever tool, whatever AI tool you want to use. And I'm going to make a table, and this table is going to be called answers. And I'm going to have a couple things here. Um, I'm just going to call this D. Probably not the best practice, but let me just leave that as it is. So what I need is I need a field to store the questions. I need a field to store the answers. I need a field to store the user's email. I need the field to store maybe the created time. So I have these couple of things. I have the question, the answer, the email, and the created time. And so what I want to do now is firstly, I want to name this answers. With this particular tool, with this particular front end, you can only use Airtable or Google Sheets. If you use another front end, if you use Webflow or another front end, I have tutorials on other front ends. You can use different backends. This is probably the easiest to teach beginners, which is why I teach with this. And so what we want to do is after it processes with Eden AI, I am going to tell it, add it to my Airtable database. You can do lots of different things. You can delete a record, update a record, but we want to create a record. My Airtable database is already connected. And what I'm going to do is find Pakistan's tourism industry. I'm going to find the table. I only have one table called answers. And here we can see questions. I grab that from there. Answers. I have to grab my answer here. Email. So we do have an email, but we'll just leave that for now. We're going to test this. And I'm going to say, how will Pakistan's facilities be used? We're going to do that. And this should have added to our database, if I did this correctly. I've got to run it again. Oh no, I actually did this wrong. So we're going to run this from the beginning. I'm actually going to run this here. I'm going to say, how will Pakistan's facilities be used? Let's ask question. If we jump to this, we can see that it received. It's now processing, and then it added to our database, and we can see it added to our database. It is missing the email. So it's answered it. It has the question. It has the answers. It's missing the email. It has the date. So we're just going to update this so it has the email. And how we update it is, if I go back to my home page, I just need to double check this. Okay, we're going to have to tell it to send some test data again. No, make connects the front end AI and the back end. We could even do a lots of other interesting things. For example, if we wanted to send an email, all we have to do is add another module, and we can send an email at the same time. We can connect another service if we wanted to connect another service. We could take it from Eden AI, and we can do extra processing with it if we wanted to do extra processing with it. But that's the power of Make or Zapier. It allows you to do really complex workflows visually. Um, So what I want to do is determine the structure again. And I want to try to, so I missed a step, which is why it's not picking up the email. So what I want to do here is this right now, this form is visible to everybody. So if we go and preview, I'm not logged in, but I can still see this form. That is not what we want to do. We want it to be only visible to logged in users. So what we're going to do is change the visibility of that block to logged in users. And what you will see shortly, it has this lock sign with logged in users. So now this block is only visible to logged in users. So when we go, we can't see the block anymore. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our sign in and sign up page and just make sure this is updated. So you can sign in with Google. We haven't connected Google, so we're just going to remove that. We're going to remove the placeholder. We're going to go to sign up. We're going to remove that. We're going to go to reset password. Just double check this. Forgot password. So all of this is pre-made already. If you try to make your own application, user authentication can be particularly hard. This has made it really easy for us. And so what we want to do now is we are going to test again, but we're going to log in. Well, first we have to create an account. So we're going to sign up. It takes us to our sign up page. And here I created my account. I signed up. And now I can see this page where it has the form. What I want to do, I have to teach it a new data structure because it doesn't know the email yet. And I'm going to say, how will Pakistan be revolutionized? I'm going to answer the question. And you can see it's successfully determined. Now I'm going to run that again. How will be revolutionized? You can see it received, but if we look at it this time, you can see the email there. That's because I logged in. And what I can now is I can fill in this. And because the webhook understands there's an email, I can add email. So now when it goes through this, it's going to add the email to Airtable where it hasn't been doing it before. So that's how we resolve that issue. I believe, yes, we can make apps using no code. I will show you at the end some apps I've made with no code. We're nearly at the end, but not quite yet. So what we have here, and I'm actually going to run this again. We need some data. How will Pakistan be revolutionized? So it's going to do that. And what we're going to find is going to add the email address. Let me just give it a couple seconds. Okay, it's added. We open this record, check it out. We see it, but we need to display this back to the user. But we haven't created a list to actually display this back to the user. So we're going to add another block, a dynamic block that displays a list. We're going to grab that list. And what we have to do is connect our data source. So now it's asking, where do you want to get this list from? I'm going to connect. If you close your eye, what we have here is a dummy list, but we need to say what base we want to take it from, which is basically what database we want to take it from, what table do we want to take it from. So now we're having the basis of our list, but what we need to do is go to features. We don't have any tags, so we don't need that. We don't have any image, so we can just hide this image. But what we do have is a heading, and our heading is going to be question. And you can see, how will Pakistan be revolutionized? That's the question. The text will be the answer. So you can see the answer here. And it has some other stuff that we don't really want. So we're going to remove this tag. We're going to remove this upvote. And so now we have our questioning list in display. But we want to make some adjustments here. So the first adjustment I'm going to make is I'm going to say it's a kind of disclaimer. If you do not see your result immediately, please refresh the page. Because I know sometimes you have to refresh the page to see the result. And so what I'm also going to do right now, the data is going to display for every user. I haven't filtered the data. And what I'm going to do is add a conditional filter to show the email has to equal the current logged in user's email. So it's only going to show the person looking at this their own records that they can see, their own question and answers. You could filter this by admin, you can filter this by team. This is the power of no code. It makes it really easy to add filters and make changes. One of the last changes I'm going to do is on this block and only show it to logged in users. So now the form only shows to logged in users and the list only shows to logged in users. So if we go back, what we will be able to see now is our form. We can see our list. We will go ahead and ask another question. What question shall I ask? What is the vision for Pakistan? Ask the question. We'll see that it's adding. It's processing right now. It's added it to our database. If we go to our database, we can see it's added to our database. We can see it there. We can't see it quite here yet. So I'm just going to refresh. And you can see what is the vision for Pakistan. And it shows this answer. So this is exactly what we want. Maybe the last thing I want to do, one of the last things I want to do before I publish this is, right now, I'm not storing the users anywhere. So I want to create a database to store the users. So I'm just going to call this users or users is okay. I'm going to name this ID, do auto number just for now. And I'm going to do full name. I'm going to do email. You could do profile picture, preferences, you name it. But I'm just going to keep it really, really simple. And I'm going to do created date or created time. And so what we have here is, now we have to connect this. So I'm just going to connect it. Users, the email field, and we have the name field here. And that's it. We could put our avatar field and a magic link field. We don't need it for this tutorial. And just for the sake of time, I'm just going to hard code this. Okay. So what we have here, and what the last thing we want to do, or I think the last thing we want to do, we're going to go home. We're just going to double check this. Okay, this looks fine. We are going to click publish. I'm going to Pakistan tourism. What did I call it? Pakistan tourism. Tourism industry. I'm going to publish this, and then I can see my working application over here. So we're not logged in right now. I'm going to try sign in. I think I might have to sign up again. So I signed up. What you can actually see is the records are already created because it's getting it from this database. If we just run this again, what I'm going to do is say, what is the objective of the changes to the tourism strategy? We're going to ask the question. We're going to see that it's processing. We go to our backend. We can see it's added to our backend. You can see in our front end, it's not quite there yet. So we're just going to refresh, and we can see what is the objective to the of what is the objective of the changes of the tourism strategy, and we can see the answer here. So this is how we've just created an AI application. I think in under 2 hours, under an hour and a half. This is a very, very simple AI application. It's very similar to this, what I created for market research. It's not too far away from, let's see. I have an app that I made that generates love letters. Um, So you can see it's generating love letters. All you have to do is put a topic or a keyword. I've done the exact same thing here. Release this for I will be releasing this for Valentine's Day or around Valentine's Day. But it's a simple way for you to create AI applications. Somebody asked, yeah, developer in an hour. Somebody asked about or applications like mobile applications. So this is one of the easiest to use, or Darlo. Um, it does have some flexibility. For some reason, my computer's taken a little bit long to load. It has flexibility. You can connect maps. You can create delivery apps with it. You can create directories with it. It has geolocation, in-app purchases. It has a component marketplace uh similar to, I want to say WordPress. It's not WordPress. Um yeah, it's WordPress. Similar to WordPress, you have third-party developers making it. You can connect it to APIs. You can use templates, or you can create templates and sell templates. So with Abdul, with Softer, Softr, with Softer, if you haven't created projects already, you can connect your domain. You have to buy your domain from like some other service like GoDaddy or or namecheap.com or wherever you buy your domain. But you can connect it for free to Softer. The only reason I can't connect it for free is because I made like a zillion projects under it. But you can connect, I believe, like one or two projects for free. Yeah. So I use GoDaddy, but Namecheap, lots of them are okay. They're decent. Odalo's good. I'll show you Flutterflow too. Flutterflow is very, very good. It's just a little bit more advanced than Odalo. It allows you to publish to the Google Play Store and the App Store, but this one does have a native IDE. Allows you to export the code too. And maybe I'll show you this. Google do have their own no code platform. It's more focused on enterprises though. Um, it allows you to turn Google Sheets into mobile applications, which is good for businesses. But if you're creating consumer applications, this is probably a little bit too simple. So Softer is free. They do have upgrades. If you wanted to do anything special, for example, let's see here. If I wanted to import this particular block somewhere else, let's see if I can do this. I can embed the block. Let's see. Oh, it will let me. I think you do have to like. I think I have a special account because I make a lot. Um, but you can embed specific blocks. But you would have to look at the pricing plan. With Softer, you can make it for free, but it's freemium. So if we go to pricing. See, it starts at free, um, but you upgrade, and they do allow a 30-day free trial for upgrade. They also have a professional version. Does anybody have any more questions? Maybe on AI, no code generally. Maybe you have ideas for applications for competitions, and you just want some ideas on things you can explore. If nobody has any questions, I think we are finished. We've made our AI application, and someone said develop in under an hour. Yes. Um, I have a lot more applications that I haven't shown, but all of them use different tools. How am I facilitating society using no code? So this is my most popular this is my most popular platform. It was built using Softer. It does have automations on the back end, but it scrapes Twitter for missing people appeals, and it publishes them on my website and sends them out to different news outlets and different platforms and communities. This was my most popular one. Uh, Let me find a friend. So you should go ahead and find my friend or follow my friend Vency. She's based in India. I don't think I can find her project, but she's based in India. During COVID, she built a application to be able to see how many using Glide, which is a tool I usually teach. If I show you here, Glide's a very easy tool I use too, and it's a tool I usually teach. But Vency used Glide to be able to see how many what hospital beds are free and where equipment is available during the COVID pandemic. So that answers the question about facilitating society. There are other applications that I have, such as so lots of people are getting scammed in crypto, and I do have a Chrome extension that has a lot of users, and this Chrome extension verifies whether a website or not is in the coin market cap database. So that attempts to reduce the amount of people getting scammed in crypto. Um, so yeah, the list can literally go on for me on social impact projects. There's another application that I do have. I'm not going to go through all my apps because I just have so many, but this one uses AI to simplify the text. What I realize is a lot of articles, especially research articles, are too complicated for people to read. So all you do is highlight the text, you wait a couple seconds, and it's going to simplify it right here. So it's simplified the text. So you can simplify research articles, and it makes it easier for people to actually understand research articles. So that's my answer in how am I facilitating society using no code. Somebody asked, does Flutterflow connect with Eden AI and Airtable the same way it connects with Softer? So yes, the short answer is yes. We would do the same thing, but in different ways. Here, if I just close this, in Flutterflow, we would have to have some kind of page that takes user input or a screen that takes user input, similar to this. We would then also send it to make our webhook, and then we would send it to Eden AI. It might not be Airtable with Flutterflow. You can connect it to Xano, or you can connect it to Firebase and Firestore. Um, you can connect it to more complex backend databases, and that's why Flutterflow is good, especially for advanced no-code users. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, just to show you my YouTube. And my YouTube will be sent in an email. So here I have about creating chatbots, creating social media content, lots of AI content most recently. I also have workshops I did with other universities in India, Jamaica, all different countries. Um, does hackathon meeting? So this is especially important if you're a computer science student. If you're not a computer science student, you might not even be aware. So hackathon is a competition. Sometimes, thank you. Hackathon's a competition. Sometimes it's a weekend. Sometimes it's a week. Sometimes it's a month. Sometimes it's a couple months where people come together. They come up with ideas and they build something and they compete to see who has the best idea. And sometimes they give out money for this. Sometimes they don't give out money. But you can see lots of hackathon competitions here on DevPost. So we can see, let's see, here is 500 or 50 $50,000 in prizes. And sometimes it's good for jobs because sometimes, let's see if there's Microsoft one here. So sometimes companies host hackathons to help recruiting. And I can't see any here from any big name companies. You have Cisco. You can have blockchain hackathons, you can have AI hackathons, you can have social good hackathons, but it's a way to practice building stuff, work and have fun in a team. If you're lucky, you can win money, you can win prizes, and if you're even luckier, you can that can lead into a job. There's also another website that might be good for hackathons. Especially at your university, you might want to consider this. But Major League Hacking is an organization that partner with universities and students to host hackathons. So if there's an organization or a group of people that want to host a hackathon, you have lots of good examples here. They connect you with partners, sponsors. They fund you a little bit. So yeah, hackathons are amazing. So somebody asked Miriam, I think that's how you pronounce the name. I think someone Miriam asked, should we prefer Xano or Firebase or over Airtable? So Airtable's a lot easier to use, in my opinion. Xano and Firebase are more technical to use, so it depends how technical you are, but it also depends the stage your project is at. So that missing black people project, we go back that this is a project that doesn't need Firebase or Xano. That would just be overkill. This backend is Airtable. There is. I'm trying to think of another project. Let's see if I can pull it up. So I have a dating management app. I don't advertise it very well, but I have a dating management app that was built. This backend, if I was to work on it a lot more, this would be in Xano. So this is it's a simple app, but it can get complex really quickly, and this would be in Xana or Firebase. But I would have chosen Xana because I built this in Ardala. Yeah, it can be uploaded to both Google Play Store and the App Store. both with Flutterflow and Ordalo. Does anybody have any more questions? So this is interesting. So game development. Uh, I will actually open this on my laptop if I can find it. So game development, I will use BuildBox. So BuildBox is so impressive, especially if you really like game development. I think this is a great way to get into game development really quickly without like within a week, a month, or maybe even 2 months or 3 months, you can build a fully functioning game. And my biggest one of my biggest tips about developing apps or developing software, as you'll see, I have a lot of projects, but you have to produce a lot of projects to learn. You have to keep building and building and building, and that's how you learn. Just to show you BuildBox. So BuildBox allows you to create 2D games and 3D games. It has tutorials here if you want to go through the tutorials about game physics, but it also has templates. You can buy templates or you can use free templates. So what we're going to do, we are going to open this space shooter. Yeah, practice makes perfect. And then you also learn about the things you like building, the things you don't like building. Um, Maybe you love building mobile applications and you don't like building websites, or maybe you like building mobile applications for social impact instead of business. And so here in BuildBox, you can customize a lot of different things. You can change the physics. You can change the point system. You can add lots of different things. And if I show you what this looks like when we preview it, just gonna hit play. I don't think you can actually see this. Can't see this because my screen is okay. So we're gonna try again. So this is a very simple game. You can make this a lot more advanced, but this is a basic 2D game. You can see there's points. You can see there's enemies. So the easiest way I would tell you to change this is you change the point, you change this so this white thing, this white circle is a point. uh Maybe make it applicable to your local market, or you're like make it applicable to Pakistan. What would this space shooter look like to be really interesting to Pakistani students? And that's just to oh, I closed it by accident. But that is how you make games with BuildBots. But there's also FlowLab, which is a lot easier than BuildBox, but you can't publish to the Google Play Store and App Store as well. If I just show you, hopefully a game I made is still there, but I made a very, very simple game for a tutorial. If I go to my games, let's see. I think it's this one. So you can see I made a very easy game. Here you would want to customize the scene to be to like reflect your culture and reflect your own personality. You would want to customize like the story of it. See, I, lo- I lose health. See, I have music. You want to customize the music. So that is how. That is one way to create games without coding. Does anybody have any more questions? We've gone slightly over time, but I hope it was enjoyable for you. I hope you learned something. This will be uploaded to YouTube. You will be able to watch this back in case you missed anything. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, and I'll be more than happy to help with anything you need. Thank you, everybody. So I think there is one more question. Okay, just to quickly answer that last question, limitations in no code as compared to coding. There is, I think there's limitations in both. Really bad code doesn't scale. Really bad code is hard to use. Really bad code is hard to maintain. The disadvantage with some no code platforms, you can't export the code. Some no code platforms, you can't expand functionality. Sometimes you might have platform lock. So, really, it just depends on the no code tool you're using, just as it depends on the programming language you're using and what you're using it for.